So one of the questions we posed last week is what's going to happen if ChatGPT actually starts to be used by pastors for their sermons, and does that even matter? Based on what everybody's saying on Twitter, some people would say yes, some people would say no. Nobody really knows what to do with this, and I guess I can't really say Twitter, but on YouTube, there was another guy video that was sent out to me before we did this that was about how he asked it to write 3 sermons. He wrote one, or he wrote a sermon, and then he asked ChatGPT to write 2 on the same passage. And there's a lot of people saying, well, you don't have to worry about ChatGPT because it's biased. Yes, it is. However, it does contextualize your questions, so you can make it have your bias, if you want to call it that. Or it's probably better to say your perspective, and use it that way. And these things, I recorded my screen during this thing. All these responses were done in like the whole chat thread, and this was with me calling Lindsay over and saying, check this out. Oh my word. So in all, these responses were generated in probably less than 10 minutes. So just think about that for a minute. If you got a test question or a essay assignment about the Trinity, right? How long would it take you to write that? Probably be a while. And here's the thing. The way that education works is that it doesn't necessarily require you to get it right a lot of times. It just requires you to present your argument. So if the argument is valid, a professor might say, I don't think you're right, but your argument is valid. Okay? So let's move on through here and see what it actually produced. And I'll point out where the pain points are often in beginning seminary students or Christians who are trying to figure out what the Trinity is, and see what it actually has to say. So I said, tell me about the Trinity. The Trinity refers to the Christian doctrine of the 3 persons of the one Godhead, namely the Father, the Son, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. This doctrine is central to the Christian faith and considered by many to be a mystery that cannot be fully understood by human reason alone. The doctrine of the Trinity asserts that there is one God who exists in 3 distinct persons, each of whom possesses all the attributes of deity. The Father is the Creator, the Son is the Redeemer, and the Holy Spirit is the Sanctifier. Together they are one God in essence and substance, but distinct in their personal relations. Now you might be able to say, like, okay, well, in God, essence and substance are the same, but that's a little bit of a minor detail. The point is that this part right here is the part that almost every pastor when I was in seminary, if I asked them, what is the doctrine of the Trinity, they'd say 3 in 1. 3 what in 1 what? That's the question. One pastor said, God's not a what, he's a who. And I said, how do you have a who without a what? Now, this is the problem, is because a lot of pastors and a lot of Christians are not taught the basics of not critical thinking, but the philosophical theology that was derived from the scriptures. And the Trinity is one of those things. Essence is in the Bible, in the original Greek. There's esse. You can find that in him we move and have our being. You can find that word being used there. I'm not a Greek scholar. I just have talked with Greek scholars about that passage in particular. You can find some of these terms if you know the Greek, but to know what they mean in terms of constructing the doctrine, that's much, much harder, which is why so many heresies were circulating around as the church tried to figure out what these actually were. So the concept of the Trinity is firstly introduced in the Bible, specifically in the New Testament, and is further developed by the early church fathers. Okay, so notice the term concept. The concept of the Trinity, this is accurate, is introduced in the Bible. But the concept as it's described is developed by the early church fathers. This is an incredible response. And it begs the question of, okay, if you don't have any other reason to go to church, practically speaking, I'm not talking about whether or not there's a theological obligation to go to church. I'm just saying there's a difference between what is expected of a Christian and what a Christian believes is expected of him. And so some Christians out there, and I've asked this before, why do you go to church? I asked it just this week on Twitter. You can check it out at Thomistic Dan on Twitter. you can see what people are saying there. They're giving biblical justifications. They're giving their reasons for why it is or is not required, whatever it may be. But the point is, if the Christian faith is merely about what you know about God, not any sort of religious practice you have, then ChatGPT, logically speaking, for the next generations who come up and use this thing, and again, this is a Google killer, okay? This thing is aggregating your search results and giving you the best answer. It's actually doing the work of research for you, and its answers are pretty damn good. The bottom line is that liturgy ends up becoming really, really important in an era of AI, because AI can't replace the liturgy. And so it also can't replace pastoral authority if that logic holds. So as a result, this becomes very, very crucial for churches to start really thinking about what they believe and why about their liturgies. Because if you've got a church that's primarily, and again, I'm talking years down the road. I'm not talking like, oh, in the year 2030, we're going to have this kind of stuff. Granted, if crazy cataclysmic things happen, who knows what'll happen. But the bottom line is that this is a crazy tool that is going to really, really change how we think about what it means to deliver the truth and how we find the truth.